And finally, there's the mouth. Whose mouth? Not any mouth. Yosef's mouth. What's Yosef's mouth? The Aravah. You remember what Yosef said when he met his brothers after 22 years. He revealed himself to his brothers. Nivhalu, they're astonished. They can't believe this is their brother, the prime minister of Egypt, their little baby brother who they used to make fun of. Suddenly he's the most powerful person in the world after Pareh. They can't believe it. What does Yosef tell them in Parshas Vayigash? V'hinei einechem royos, ve'einei binyamin achiki. The machs mit cup. So finish the pasuk. Atazai. Almost. Kifi hamedaber aleichem. Aleichem. You see, my mouth is speaking to you. I want to ask you a question. When you see somebody's mouth speaking to you, you know that he's your brother? Kipi hamedaber aleichem. What does that mean? Kipi. So Rashi says, Lashon Kodesh. I ask you, no Egyptian could have known Hebrew. Today, many Jews don't know Hebrew, and many Egyptians know Hebrew. Many Jews don't know a word of Hebrew, or even Lashon Kodesh. Lashon Kodesh is not Hebrew, and many non-Jews know it. Many Arabs know a good Hebrew and a Lashon Kodesh. So you speak Lashon Kodesh. Kifi hamedaber aleich. Rashi doesn't only mean Lashon Kodesh. Rashi means, you see, as a chreda Yiddish sprach. You see, I speak a Jewish language. There's some things, if you grew up in a certain family, there's certain things only you and your brothers know. There's a sprach, you had the same Jacobson, the same parents to deal with, the same problems, the same idiosyncrasies, the same shtick. There's a certain, what's called in Yiddish, a gemeinsame sprach. A gemeinsame sprach. Ich will dich reden, a Yiddish sprach. A gemeinsame sprach means we call it in English, a common language. It's not just words. It's not just vocabulary. It's a style. It's the soul of what you say. It's the quips. It's the expressions. Kifi hamedaber aleichem. They heard right away that Yosef knows things that the prime minister of Egypt doesn't know if he didn't grow up in the house, in the Weltanschauung, in the Hashkofe, in the Kedusha, in the Dalet Amos of Yaakov Avinu. Kifi hamedaber aleichem. Pasuk says it. We say it in the Shir Shel Yom of Thursday, Tehillim 81. Eidus bi Yosef Samai b'tzeise al Eretz Mitzrayim Sfas lo yodati eshma. Pari says, I know this is Yosef, it's unique, I hear a language that I don't know. Rashi says about Yosef, Shem Shamayim Shogur b'fiv. When he wants to tell his father that he's alive, how does he prove it to him? He's still learning the sugya they learned 22 years ago, Egla Arufa. Kifi hamedaber aleichem. Ich hab the sprach, I have the language. And that's the question. Do you have Yosef's sprach, Yosef's language? How do you speak? How do you speak to your wife? How do you speak to your children? How do you speak to other people? What type of language do you have? What type of words do you have? People sometimes speak with crudeness, with anger, with lowliness, with bruteness, with vulgarity to themselves, to their friends. Do you have Yosef's language? Sfas lo yadati eshma. He's in Egypt in Ervas Haaretz, but he has the language, the pi hamedaber aleichem of Yosef. What type of language do you have? How do you speak to your children? When they want to copy their father or their mother, what do they say when they're talking amongst themselves? You could sometimes hear things that you say that you don't realize you say. What's the language that you use? The edelkeit, the purity, the dignity, the majesty that comes out through language. And it's interesting. The Aravah dies before the other ones because Jews never hold on to a language. Who here knows Ladino? Anybody knows Ladino? Anybody knows Esperanto? Anybody knows Aramaic? Everybody knew Aramaic. But today, not everybody knows Aramaic. Yiddish, everybody spoke Yiddish. Today, only half of Muncie speaks Yiddish. The other half doesn't speak Yiddish. Even I'm not speaking in Yiddish. Ich kann reden, ganz a glanzedig in Yiddish. Ich hab lieb reden auf Yiddish. Aber ich will das alles auch verstehen. Ich will kol Yisrael Ruyum Leisha Besukachas. Darf ich nebach reden auf English. So the Aravah dies, but it's not the language, it's what the language carries in it. You could speak Yiddish like a goy, and you could speak English like a Yid. I've heard it. They say there was once a Jew who needed Parnassus. He converted, he became a priest. So the next Sunday he gave a sermon in the church, so the cardinal came to hear him. So afterwards, the Jew goes over to the cardinal. He says, no, how was it? How was my sermon? He says, it was excellent. But you don't have to start next week, hi, my fellow Goyim. You could learn to change the language. It's not, the language is important. The language is important. The language is like, Rabbi Yosheber once said, the language is like the mantle of a Sefer Torah. The mantle of a Sefer Torah is holy. We kiss it. But it's not the Sefer Torah. You could change coats on the Sefer Torah. There's the Sefer Torah, and there's the mantle of the Sefer Torah. Yiddish is the mantle of the Sefer Torah. The language that Jews spoke for thousands of years. They conversed in it, they laughed in it, they cried, they davened, they learned. It's holy, but don't confuse it with the Torah. The Yiddishisten turned Yiddish into a religion. I grew up with the Yiddishisten. Those who know my history, I knew the Yiddishisten very well. The Yiddishisten turned Yiddish into a god. A language is not a god, but a language could carry a Sefer Torah. Eidus b'hoysev svas lo yodati eshma.
Watch the full class at theyeshiva.net.